My name is Christopher Shintaku. I am in the first section of Dr. Purcell's Teach 219 course. For my disciplinary literacy project, I felt I faced a little bit of a struggle trying to decide on examples of where mathematics could be found in fields outside of my discipline. So I decided to interview Heather Hughes, who is the Assistant Vice President of Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley is a leading global financial services firm providing investment banking, securities, wealth management, and investment management services, according to Wikipedia. In interviewing her, she defines literacy as the ability to read and write fluently as it pertains to your prospective field. I believe that in order to be a literate individual, one must possess the knowledge in their particular area. However, to be literate in mathematics changes the dynamic a bit. As students progress through schooling, past higher education, students are required to have a baseline average level of schooling in mathematics. Bank employees, such as a broker or wealth advisor, must possess more than the average level of schooling in mathematics. Mathematics is a very important field in investment banking. As reliable as we are on technology in the modern era, computers, estimators, and reports still make mistakes. The concept of knowing mathematics becomes very important in the situation of correcting electronic calculated expenses, interest, or cash flow. For example, expected cash flow is a term used to define the expected amount of money that an individual partner plans on taking out of the bank at a month, semi-annual, or annual amount of time. Mathematics is also prevalent when talking about interest components and interest rates. Prior mathematical knowledge becomes important when knowing how to calculate these interest rates and knowing how to budget and adjust the budget accordingly. Also, even when purchasing stock, which is one of the largest components to Morgan Stanley's business, knowing when and where to buy which stocks is a very important skill to have that requires large amounts of planning, skill, execution, and the ability to interpret the numbers that are in front of you. I almost can relate buying stock to like watching a football game film or playing an instrument. When watching football game film, it's very important to not only know what you're looking for, but also how it's going to affect the other players that are on the field. Same goes for music. In playing music, it's important to understand the different scales and modes that you can apply to a particular chord and or chord progression. Just as an example. Buying stock is more than just going up and buying a particular stock for any old company. The technical aspect, technical referring to the technique behind it, is a skill that is learned through experience and understanding the number crunching nature that is statistics. Also, another place where mathematics plays a major role is through the idea of a PE ratio. Now, a PE ratio is short for price earnings ratio, which is the current market price for a share divided by the earnings per share of that particular company. Now, mathematics is all around the banking industry, whether that's through ratios, stocks, or calculating interest, just to name a few. The world of investment banking is unlike any other. If you've ever seen the movie The Big Short, you'll know that the banking industry isn't just made up of a bunch of no-goods that have little to no experience in the field. The banking industry is very competitive, and the skills must reflect as such. In order to stand out for the rest, employees of Morgan Stanley must be universally versatile. Essentially, the more that an individual can do for the company, the more the company can do for that individual. Now, licensure is very important to Morgan Stanley and to the individual's employment with the company. Examples of licensure tests are the registered representative level security licenses. Now, Ms. Hughes has received her Series 7, 31, 63, 65, and 66 licenses. Now, these various licenses are similar to a set of endorsements for teachers, per se. Each license is specific to one particular set of skills that is necessary in the workplace. The more licensures that one person acquires, the more marketable that they are in the field of investment banking. And Ms. Hughes is in the private wealth management division, where she has a team comprised of her and 2 other people. The wealth management section of Morgan Stanley is split into 2 subgroups. Global wealth management, which is the wealth management for the middle class and the common consumer, and the private wealth management, which is the wealth management for upper middle class and higher profile consumers. These 2 wealth management subgroups will often work together since there is so much overlap. They will do so through buying partners and referrals in order to maximize the amount of clients that Morgan Stanley has. The concept of maximizing clients has a direct correlation to the projected outlooks that are established at the beginning of each quarter. Now, the mathematics behind these projections requires a form of business calculus in order to carefully estimate the maximum or minimum amount of clients that a particular quarter can come to expect. Now, the literacy of mathematics is very important to all employees of Morgan Stanley. Entry-level employees are expected to receive their licenses within 90 days of accepting their position at the firm. This is important because without licensure, essentially as a financial assistant, you're not allowed to have any contact with clients without the proper qualifications. These security and licensure tests are the biggest hurdle for these entry-level employees that are beginning at the firm. Now, other forms of literacy that come into effect are the experience factor. As financial assistants practice and gain their experience buying and selling stock or working with clients to organize their assets, the job gets easier, just like any other occupation. New employees typically struggle for the first 2 quarters or 6 months of the calendar year due to the constant testing and preparation classes that all new employees are required to take. Investment banking is entirely predicated on the methods of mathematics. The success of Morgan Stanley, however, is directly correlated to each individual's ability to interpret the numbers and use mathematics to adjust, estimate, and budget money accordingly. Now, a degree in mathematics is not a necessity for becoming an investment banker. However, that being said, it is definitely more beneficial to have that additional mathematics background knowledge. According to Broadening the Lens of Literacy, literacy is defined in 3 ways, and that is the quality or state of being literate, especially in the ability to read and write, the possession of education, and a person's knowledge of a particular subject or field. Now, in investment banking, it is extremely vital that the financial advisor that you are working with has the correct licensure and credentials, because should that advisor be illiterate, the mathematical and financial concepts could easily be confused and often mistaken. In doing this project, I really enjoyed learning about another discipline and seeing how much overlap that there actually was between mathematics and investment banking. Now, mathematics is a universal language, and the ability to use and interpret the information presented to you is a skill. It was very interesting to me at least, to see how other occupations use mathematics in their everyday lives in order to achieve success in the workplace.